Hello, trading team. Good afternoon. It's me, Jay Song here, and I'm going to go over Bitcoin. Before we continue, I just want to remind you that this is not financial advice. This is not trading advice. Everything that you hear or see me ever talk about is just for educational, comedic, and entertainment purposes only, not to be taken seriously. Bear in mind, I do eat red crayons for breakfast, and I often get tummy aches. And if you do too, you're probably crazy. So please read between the lines. That is my type of YouTube disclosure. If you haven't followed me before, you can join us at the on our chart room, which is right here, and also in the link in the description as well. I use it to mark my charts, so you know which charts are mine. On the chart room, you can click on my name. You'll see posts throughout the day. You can also join me on Patreon, and if you're not on Telegram, you can join me on Patreon and become a member. I do send out charts throughout the day, and we are going to be, as time goes on, we're going to be covering more and more various types of charts. Although heavily right now, I've been following XRP, Bitcoin, because what happens in Bitcoin a lot happens to the market as a whole. Although I do want to point out some things about Bitcoin, is that I do believe a great decoupling from Bitcoin has begun. XRP and Bitcoin's moves usually are proportionate to one another, and they usually have a lot of the similar setups until just about a few days ago, which also comes along the lines with Intel we've been receiving about the 22nd. So this 22nd of July, where they would start to do their own things. And I'm seeing that. So I'm becoming less and less concerned about Bitcoin things. However, if you do follow Bitcoin, that's okay. I do believe that Bitcoin will be crashing, but not soon. I don't see it just yet in the cards. There are still a lot of things on the table here. So currently, where are for price maps? There's some things to be aware. First of all, I'm starting with the weekly chart, and this is how you need to start your chart. You need to map out the points that are going to be the most relevant. And right now I'm starting with this chart right here because you'll see that this was 1 week that price had come down and stopped right here. It actually came as far as here, and at the end of that week it came back up to here. So I actually marked both of those times. Usually when it comes to a wick, I'll mark that with a dashed line so you know the difference between a week, that type of marker. And then with with these type of lines, you know that they're going to be somewhere in the higher time frame. So I'm just leaving this red for right now. I am working on a color legend for you all, but for right now I'm just having it red so you know that those prices are coming up. We have been expecting Bitcoin to break out. Well, let's continue to go down. Now I'm going to a 1 day chart, and this is in you'll actually see my maps, and I draw arrows on them throughout the day if you're on my Patreon or you're following my Telegram, and you'll be able to see those. And also I'm really glad that the community in the Telegram and chart room is becoming skilled at drawing. And some of you guys are posting your chart saying, hey, does this look right? Hey, this is what I see. And I'm really proud of you guys to start drawing on your prices, because you're going to be able to make a lot more sense of price, because there's a lot of times when price doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, you need to go to the time frames that it does make sense on, and then you can also start drawing and you can see things. There's other things you can do. You can turn on Heiken Ashi, which is going to give you a more smoother candles, and you can see things you may not have seen before as well. Okay, there's another level I'm going to be paying attention to, and it's this one right here, this swing. Okay, I'm looking for the most relevant swings when I'm drawing these. Okay, the ones that really stand out, that price really moves or that has the biggest swings, or the ones that are closest to price. Those are the ones that you want to draw. This one is a little one between these bigger ones, so I wouldn't really draw that so much, but price can still react to it. So you can draw it and you can fade it away. But for right now, I'm really only paying attention to the main ones. This one is in play, that one's in play. If these two react, you can guarantee this one will react. But if these ones don't react at all, this one will almost be non-existent. Okay, that's if we get up to these highs. So right now we are still in range of the previous tops on here on Hike and Ashy. If you turn on the candles itself, you can actually see that price is beginning to break out of that. But we still have 15 minutes left to go on this candle. If we hard close above this point of 40.66, if we hard close above that, then price can go continue on to hit its next target of 43.121 and possibly 45.245. So what that would look like, to look more correct, is price would need to actually come down back to here, and then we can come up there, or there. But the better you would want to be, this is on a daily chart, okay? So this could take a little bit of time. Generally, we would look on a smaller time frame, like a 4-hour chart. And then you'll want to see price. This is what I like to see. I like to see price come and swing and either touch those bottoms or kiss the bottoms right there like that, and then come up to its next higher levels. Okay. And here's what we had a major point that I had marked here as a cut. No, I'm not going to redo this analysis. That's from another previous video. But I do want to say that we did have price, and I talked about this in a previous video, where we did close above. Okay? And when we closed above, that means we have a greater chance of staying above. Yes, we pierced below, but we were also on top of a parabolic curve. So price was bouncing through that area. So this tells me that price is getting stronger. If it would have hard closed right at the line, and then I would expect it to come back down. But because it pierced through the line, actually came up and then came back down, that's a good sign that we're now in the new ranges. And then everything else is the exception. So we went back up to the range for its roof, and you can see it kissed that roof. We had this red line. This target was well in play on our maps. You could see it in our Telegram and on our Patreon. But when price hit those, it came back down, and it's actually sitting on top of this roof, which price bounced off that one, and then now we are bounced off of there too. So you can see price is just finding support. It's making a case that price is strong. Okay, it's making a case that price is really strong. Another thing I looked at in these two panels, if you look at the volume here on this area here, we had ultra high volume on a down bar because we're above the average. It's pretty high from its last bars, okay? And the very next bar was an up bar on almost equal volume, but yet it's so small. And yet it was an up bar. So if this was really all selling, the next bar really should have been a down bar, but yet we had almost identical activity in a little compressed candle. So when I see that, I often think of like compression. When I see those that huge volume in just a little tiny candle, that is the right one for the reversal, which in this case, that means that there was actually buying on this red candle, because if it was all selling, then why did the next candle just go green? And then all that, but we do have a longer bottom wick that price came up to. So this kind of tells me, in the study of volume spread analysis, how could you pack so much activity in something small unless there really is a lot of pure buying in there? So this looks like it was pure buying. It's almost like the whole engulfing candle, when one candle is a lot bigger, but you need to make sure that the volume is bigger. So when I saw this long red candle here eat up the previous smaller green candle and the volumes are very high, that means the next candle should be down or lower or consolidated at very least. And that's exactly, this was enough to stop the run. We were going up, and then you have this candle just eat it until price decides what it's going to do next. And then we have this little tiny candle that's almost just as strong as this long one, and it stops it in its place. That tells us that that we would look for the next candle. Now here's what would be confusing is the next candle was almost a no demand bar. We went up at no demand. Now normally that would be something important, but we have very long bar with just little volume. So that was either pent up pressure, or that was just weakness. But we have to consider it in light of the whole story. When you consider it in light of the whole story, it starts to make a little more sense. The real story of it is that there was already support at this area for this candle. I mean, because this one was the tips of these, so it represented this, and then we came up, we didn't really touch that, and now we finally come back on. So you have pressure from the trend line itself, and we can't forget that. So when you're reading volume spread analysis in conjunction with the map, you would say, okay, well, we should be going up, but it barely took any volume. That's not really a negative sign. That's just like you didn't even need much. That it's telling us that candle didn't really need much to spring up because we already have much. This story over here is telling us what's going to happen if we ever get back to there. Okay? Because it was so strong, it didn't even really touch the line exactly. And then now we actually dip into that in some set with buying in the background using those candles, is more likely we're going to go up. So if you're interested in more VSA, I'm not a professional in VSA, but I can read it pretty decently. I recommend the group tradeguider.com. Okay, you can look up into them. And so what other things do we see on Bitcoin? Let's go over some things I see. Let's go on a 2-hour chart, cut this time in half, see what we can draw. I'm going to take the cores of these lines and I'm going to draw them with the different colors. So you can see I'm going to draw in bright yellow, and I'm going to draw them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this line, and I'm going to take the swing lows of this event of between here and here, and the swing lows is right here, and the other swing low is at the wicks. So if you were to look up close, you can see that that should have been support. It was actually becoming resistance for price at that moment. But it took, when you see these battling resistances, sometimes it just takes the tiredness and the wear and tear out of those candles. So it was battling that, and then at the end of that candle, we were still battling the overall support from, again, that line I showed you here. Not this one, not that one, but the other one, this one. So those things start telling a story on its own. Let me fade this line because it's a little confusing to you and to me. So that doesn't give us too much information. Is there another? Yes, there is. The other is if you connected wicks to wicks, which is this wick. See it? Right there. And then we're going to connect the wick. This is how we draw. This is going to give us a very much different angle. And again, you can take it to the core or to the root. And let's see if there's anything there. We have some support in the, we have support levels that have not been hit. Okay. Now, when I see these levels, they haven't been hit, and they're not likely to be hit, okay, price would have to come way down to hit these support levels. What does that tell us? It tells us that those lines themselves become the new supports and resistances if price breaks them. So guess what we get to do? We now get to draw these there. You can also draw this which would act like a resistance area from core. And let's bring that back into light. And let's bring that, and I'm just going to make it a bright magenta. And since it's in play, I'll make it really big and thick. Now this is on a 2-hour chart, but look at what do we have here. Now we have a point up here that acts like an intersection point. At 42, at this point of July 30th at 19 p.m. So I wouldn't be, 19 minus 3, 9 minus 3, 7, 8, 7, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. I think I have mine sent to Eastern, MST Standard Time, Mountain Standard Time. So I wouldn't be surprised if price comes right to that area at these points, because we see that quite a bit. That point where X marks the spot. These draw prices like a magnet when you see these points, because price is like having clear lanes. There's nothing really to stop price. If price comes back to here, this line could come into play, and then price could do this. It could come and sat down on here, and then it can use that to break through. Whereas people might be looking at a support net way down here, you may see tomorrow, wait, why did price turn around and come this way? Well, because that's what can happen with these. So we'll pay attention, and normally I would draw these on higher time frames, on 4 hours, but it still makes sense on a 4 hour. You can see though on a 4 hour chart, that's still the wick. The core angle is a little bit different. It's this one right here, but that one seems to not be in play at the moment. Okay, so it's still the same area. Well, I should take that back. If you look at the 4 hour, look at that. This angle is off. You can take the highest and strongest angle, and that's what you draw on the higher time frames. See that? Now the angle is correct. So that gives us, actually right now, look at within this candle. So this candle has three more minutes. So, I mean, it may not be exact, but it's pulling towards this intersection areas. When you see those intersection areas, they act like gravity points, and they act like magnets. There was times I filmed live videos where we find these, and price starts going towards those points where you'll have the strongest intersecting points. We would be on the underside of this line if price does that. We could come back down for support right at the yellow, and then we can travel back up to around the 45 range. So this is thank you for joining me for watching this Bitcoin price map, and I will catch you guys in our next crypto. We'll be going over XRP. Go ahead and watch me there.